creating chest pains or the cardiac pains which are similar in nature to the anginal pains, but not necessarily related to the original or the origin of the anginal pain, which may be related to atherosclerosis in particular. So there may be atherosclerosis, that means coagulation and the inhibition or the stoppages in the or the plaques in the coronary artery. There may not be. So it may be a multifaceted phenomena which may have different etiological factors, which may not be directly same as anginal origination, but they have pains which may be similar to the anginal pains. So that is the round definition of cardiac syndrome, which may have the patients which may be reporting of cardiac and chest pains, which may be similar like angina, but which may not have the same origination etiological factors as in angina. Cardiac syndrome is supposed to be a multifaceted phenomena which may have etiological factors which may be related to the changes in the endothelial nature, endothelial responses. It may have the changes in the autonomic responses, which may have some changes in the cardiac sensitivity responses, and it may also be related to changes in the hormonal system in case of the women which are nearing the menopausal stage, and that may be corrected by the hormonal therapy in these conditions in women which are reaching the menopausal stages, and that may be a combination therapy along with the main therapy therapies which may be used for management of the cardiac syndrome. If we see the pathophysiology of the cardiac syndrome, it may have a combination of endothelial dysfunction that may be of microvascular nature. It may have myocardial ischemia as one of the points or the pathophysiological points for the origination of the pain, which is causing decrease of the oxygen supply to the cardiac muscles. Thereby they have to work extra on the given energy, and thereby they develop the typical cardiac muscle fatigue, which is visible in the form of cardiac pain or the chest pain or the anginal pain. It may also be because of the insulin resistance, because of which the amount of oxygen available to the cardiac cells, which may not be appropriate in ratio to the amount of work which has to be done by the cardiac muscles in the systolic and diastolic functions. It may also be because of the some alteration in the cardiac sensitivity. There may be some alteration in the cardiac sensitivity to the various responses, and thereby the functioning may be affected, or it may be visible in the form of fatigue and pain. It may also be because of the estrogen deficiency, which is normally seen in case of women reaching the menopausal stages, and thereby this also may play a very crucial role in management of cardiac syndrome in women which are reaching this stage. Endothelial dysfunction is supposed to be one of the major factors which is associated with the generation of the cardiac syndrome. So endothelial dysfunction is normally visible in the form of the changes in the nitric oxide levels. So the correction may be required in the endothelial function management by changes, agents which are able to support this change in the nitric oxide levels to the range which is the required level. And this may generate because of some conditions which may be linked to some sort of blockages in the flow, or it may not be directly related, or it may be related to hypercholesteremia, it may be related to decrease in the level of HDL and increase in the level of LDL. There may be some disturbances which may ultimately bring about changes in the endothelial dysfunction, and thereby this endothelial dysfunction causes changes in the coronary artery behaviors and the flow of the blood through the coronary arteries and its various branches into the cardiac muscles, and thereby providing inappropriate quantity of the blood and oxygen to the cardiac muscles, thereby which are not able to perform the given systolic and diastolic function, because the energy which is reaching in the form of the blood supply is changing, and thereby it is visible in the form of symptomatic pains or the chest pain or cardiac pains. Insulin resistance, as told, may be one of the etiological factors. Insulin resistance causes changes in the availability of the glucose uptake to the cardiac cells, and thereby the amount of energy which has to be released utilizing glucose and oxygen, which may not be appropriate, and thereby it may be one of the etiological factors for generation of the chest pains, symptomatic chest pain, which is visible in the cardiac syndrome. So So naturally this also becomes one of the point wherein we can try to manage cardiac syndrome by managing the insulin resistance and the associated factors, and also utilizing drugs which are able to suffice the insulin resistance and thereby bring about the required changes in the glucose uptake by the cells. So they may also be part of the cardiac syndrome therapy management. Another factor that may be important is the abnormal autonomic control. There is a very good autonomic control over the cardiac rhythms, as well as the cardiac output, as well as the amount of blood flow through the various parts of the cardiac muscles, thereby maintaining the appropriate cardiac conditions. In some patients, it may be seen that the autonomic control has some issues, and thereby this is causing some adrenergic hyperactivity and baroreceptor dysfunction, and combined with this adrenergic hyperactivity and baroreceptor dysfunction, there may be a visible changes in the blood flow and the availability of blood through the coronary artery into the cardiac muscles, and thereby this may again cause the less amount of oxygen to be available, the less energy to be available at the cardiac muscle level, and thereby symptoms of pain and fatigue may be visible in the form of the cardiac pain and chest pain, which is maybe not exactly the same as the etiologically connected to the anginal pain. So that may be one of the things. Then there may also be another factor which may be responsible for generation of the cardiac syndrome. That may be the altered cardiac sensitivity. Cardiac sensitivity normally can be seen through coronary angiography and other findings, and in this case there may be some changes in the afferent signals, and which may be responsible for the abnormal pain perception in these areas. So because of these abnormal pain perceptions, the patient reports about pain in the chest, which is almost similar to the anginal pain which is being visible in the other areas. Then in the case of women, the estrogen deficiency may be one of the important factors which may be responsible for generation of the cardiac syndrome. Normally in case of women, the estrogen and its deficiency causes some changes in the coronary endothelial functions, and if the amount of or the level of the estrogen level goes below a minimum quantity, the endothelial function of the cardiac arteries and the coronary arteries changes, whereby they cause changes in the amount of available blood and oxygen to the cardiac muscles, and thereby causing some changes in the functioning and efficiency of these cardiac muscles because of the less amount of energy and oxygen available, again represented being in the form of the symptoms called as such as the chest pain or the cardiac pains. Prognosis, if we consider the prognosis of cardiac syndrome, in most of the patients the prognosis is sufficient and satisfactory, and in the patient does not show major complications in the cardiac syndrome. It may be managed by simple methods, as we will be talking about in detail later on, just like non-medical methods, the exercise, the diet and the other lifestyle management methods, and the sort of physiotherapeutic methods. In case of women, particularly when there is a very known changes in the estrogen levels, in that case, in some cases the prognosis may not be good for all the women, and around 2.5% women may gradually start showing the development of atherosclerotic conditions and the prolongation of these cardiac syndrome, or the frequency of the cardiac syndrome may be increasing, and sometimes it may change into anginal pains, which are because of the atherosclerotic conditions which start happening gradually. If you see the history and the other parts of this cardiac syndrome, there may be around 50% of the patients which come reporting about the anginal symptoms, they may come out to be actually patients of the cardiac syndrome, which may not be exactly anginal pain. And sometimes particularly in the case of patients which are related to rheumatoid arthritis and rheumatic factors, they also report with these symptoms which are similar to the anginal pains, but which are concluded out to be actually cardiac syndrome pains, which are not anginal pains. If we do the differential diagnosis and try to differentiate as to whether it is cardiac syndrome pain or whether it is anginal pain or other pains, we have to particularly focus upon the following differential diagnosis. We have to make sure that the pain is not because of the epicardial artery dysfunction or the coronary artery spasm or coronary bridging, which may be one of the important factors. So that has to be ruled out, whether there is bridging or the coronary artery spasm. Then we also have to rule out whether there is gastrointestinal disorders, sometimes because of the gastrointestinal disorders and the accumulated conditions, the pains appear around the chest and cardiac area, and the patient mixes it with the anginal pain. We also have to differentiate out and rule out whether it is because of the musculoskeletal disorders, and sometimes these disorders may be starting with musculoskeletal conditions which may be near and around the chest and cardiac areas, but they sometimes represent to the patient as pain in the cardiac region or because of the cardiac conditions. We also have to rule about the obstructive coronary artery disease. Obstructive coronary artery disease normally is a very similar conditions which may be either anginal pain or the cardiac syndrome pain. We also have to rule out the psychological disorders. Sometimes because of the psychological disorders, these pains originate because of some of the other psychological conditions, and the patient manifests these pains assuming that they are related to the cardiac pain. So we have to rule out the psychological conditions. We also have to rule out pulmonary disorders. Pulmonary disorders may be associated with either pulmonary fibrosis or maybe because of pulmonary effusions or alveolar damage, which may ultimately generate pain areas which may be confused with the cardiac pains or the chest pains, which may be either taken to be same as anginal pain, and ultimately they come out neither as an anginal or cardiac syndrome. They are supposed to be because of the pulmonary disorders. So differential diagnosis, we have to be very particular whether it is musculoskeletal, whether it is pulmonary, whether it is psychological, and as we said, the coronary artery conditions, epicardial artery dysfunctions, or sometimes the obstructive coronary artery diseases, as can be seen in the slide. We have to make sure that these conditions are not present before we start treating the patient for cardiac syndrome. Cardiac syndrome is actually precluding the things that there is minimal obstruction in the flow of the blood in the coronary artery. So we have to rule out whether it is because of the coronary artery obstruction or because of the epicardial artery dysfunction, that we have to rule out in particular, and thereby we have to manage the treatments which may be sometimes, in case of cardiac syndrome, it may be management by psychological or maybe exercisal or lifestyle therapies along with the medication therapies. While in angina, we are more focused on the therapy using medicines, because we are very sure that the anginal pain has started from some blockage in the artery. We have to attend to the blockage in the artery. We have also to attend with the flow of the blood. We also have to depend upon drugs like aspirin and other conditions. In this case, we have to make sure that we have differential diagnosis, which is very well done for these conditions. If we go for the electrocardiographic studies for cardiac syndrome, we don't find much of abnormalities in the ECG apart from the STT wave abnormalities, which may be very slight. So there may be not much gross anomalies in the ECG when we go for cardiac syndrome assessment in a patient, and that is a very positive sign that there are not much of ECG changes apart from some abnormalities in the STT waves. Now we come to the management and the treatment of the cardiac syndrome. So as we have said, the cardiac syndrome has a number of different etiological factors, and it may have a combination of these factors. So we have to have a medication and treatment approach which should take into consideration all these factors, and accordingly we have to make sure that we are treating it with some anti-anginal drugs. We are also using anti-atherosclerotic drugs and anti-ischemic agents also. Then we are also making appropriate use of exercises. We are incorporating appropriate diet plans. We are appropriate lifestyle plans. We are also making sure that smoking has been stopped. We are also making that the weight reduction has appropriately taken place, and side by side psychological and other measures are to be taken care of. So if we summarize the methods by which the cardiac syndrome can be managed, we can broadly summarize into managing the spinal cord stimulation. Sometimes there may be no reason, sometimes there may be no pathophysiological reason, sometimes there may be no histological or other reasons. So we have to manage it by simple spinal cord stimulation. The pain point may be originating because of some some changes in the spinal cord, the musculoskeletal and neural responses. So we have to go for spinal cord stimulation by different methods. And psychological therapy is a very good mainstay. We are normally using the antidepressant drugs, imipramine, as we will be seeing later on. So imipramine is a very prominent drug which makes sure that the psychological origin of the cardiac syndrome, the chest pain which is related to the cardiac psychological factors, is taken care of, and the appropriate doses of imipramine has to be added into the prescription when we are trying to manage the patient who is reporting the symptoms of a cardiac syndrome without any particular etiological factors related to direct anginal pains. Physical training is a very important aspect. The patient has to be involved into physical training so that there is appropriate balanced responses in the electrophysiological, skeletal, musculoskeletal as well as the neurological systems. Then we have to make sure that in some cases we have to use the enhanced external counter pulsation. Enhanced external counter pulsation takes into consideration the fact that sometimes the pain is because the appropriate amount of blood is not reaching back into the cardiac ventricles and thereby through the vena cava. So we have to make sure that the appropriate amount of blood reaches, and thereby the amount of blood goes out into the aorta and then into the coronary artery. So sometimes to make sure we have to take the help of the enhanced external counter pulsation EECP therapy, which we will be dealing in the next slides as to what it is. Sometimes we also have to make sure that neurostimulation and stellate ganglionectomy has to be done, because they may be the reasons in the central nervous system which may be giving rise to the repeated pain sensation which is being felt around the cardiac or the chest region. So sometimes we have to identify whether we need to go for neurostimulation or we have to go for ganglionectomy in the stellate region. So that has to be properly appropriately measured as to whether this thing is required or not required. If you see the details of EECP, that is the thing that we are talking, where by EECP we are trying to make sure that the appropriate amount of blood goes back through the veins or the vena cava into the cardiac system, and then again after purification it is pushed into the coronary aorta and then into the coronary artery, so that the cardiac muscles get the appropriate amount of blood and oxygen if that is the reason for the visible pain which is being caused. So there may be no blockage in the coronary artery, but because the blood is not reaching in the appropriate amount, so that has to be checked, and if that is the case then EECP is there. EECP, that means as you can see from the diagram, it is enhanced external counter pulsation. So whereby on the thighs we are putting the measures or the instruments for the pulsation, and these pads are repeatedly producing pulsations, as you can see by the representative diagram. The pads are put on the thigh region or in the buttocks region, then they are also put on the thigh region, they are also put on the shin region, and gradually there is a repeated pulsation which tries to force the blood upwards into the cardiac area through the veins, and thereby the cardiac region receives the appropriate amount of blood, and it is able to force the blood into the after purification into the coronary artery through the aortic output, and thereby the correct amount of oxygen and the blood is available for the cardiac muscles to work appropriately without fatigue and pain symptoms. So this EECP may have to be repeated for maybe a period of 15 to 20 days or maybe 1 month, whereby the overall functioning of the venous backflow into the heart becomes normal, and the patient starts showing normalization of the chest pains which are associated with the cardiac syndrome. So apart from that, the other mainstay treatments for the cardiac syndrome are the drugs which are resorted to in all the cardiac conditions, that is the beta blockers, because of their efficiency and their activity on the beta adrenergic receptors, particularly beta 1 receptors, whereby the cardiac activity is slightly managed so that it does not go into the hyperactivity, and thereby the cardiac muscles, they have to function in a reasonable way, and they are able to work with the given oxygen and the blood supply without getting fatigued or producing the symptoms of chest or cardiac pains. So metoprolol is the the drug of choice for as a beta blocker in these conditions. Apart from the metoprolol, atenolol can also be used. Both are selective beta 1 blockers, and then we also depend upon the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, which prevent the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, and finally the formation of aldosterone. So the aldosterone level is reduced when we give the ACE inhibitors drugs, for example the captopril and other drugs, and ultimately these drugs, they also, because of the aldosterone secretion decrease, they also affect the plasma lipid level and the glucose tolerance, and also the endothelial function, and thereby they try to improve the endothelial function of the coronary artery, and thereby they are able to provide good flow and good blood and oxygen supply to the cardiac muscles through the coronary artery, and thereby these drugs are also of great importance when we are talking about medicational management of the cardiac syndrome. So captopril, enalapril, lisinopril, benazepril, fosinopril, quinapril and ramipril, these may be the drugs of choice, and accordingly, depending upon the compliance with the patient, these drugs can be selected for the combined management of these conditions along with the other therapies as we have discussed. Lipid lowering drugs or the statins are very important for the long term management of cardiac syndrome, as we have discussed that there are chances of obstructions in the flow of the coronary artery, and this may be arising because of the typical atherosclerotic pathophysiological features, that is accumulation of LDL and then formation of the plaque along with the other things. So we have to make sure that we are managing the lipid levels, particularly the LDL and HDL levels. So for that, statins are the mainstay, so we have to depend upon the statins so that in the long term we are able to manage the flow of the blood into the coronary artery, and thereby make sure that the origination of pain is not because of the changes in the blood flow, and that is the case. So simvastatin, pravastatin, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin and pitavastatin, particularly pitavastatin, has the advantage that it has a very low dose, and thereby it is the latest introduction into the whole mixture of the statins, and because of the low dose it is now being favored as compared to the other drugs. So pitavastatin may be one thing, or rosuvastatin, which already has a lower dose for medication. And then we have to make sure that we are also able to manage the cardiac syndrome by using drugs which are taking care of the psychological conditions, particularly it may be associated with some depression. So we have to make sure that some antidepressant drugs might be included into the therapy, because the patient is not showing any particular pathophysiological or etiological conditions which is related to direct coronary artery obstructions. So in that case, after assessment of the musculoskeletal and other conditions, if the psychological response is supposed to be the main reason for the generation of the cardiac pain or the cardiac chest pain in case of cardiac syndrome, then we have to definitely include imipramine as a very important part of the prescription for managing cardiac syndrome. So overall, when we talk about cardiac syndrome pains, we have to make a very good differential diagnosis so that we are certain that what is the ultimate cause of the pain, which may definitely not be same as the anginal pain or the blockage pain, and definitely we have to make sure that the psychological, the musculoskeletal and other conditions are taken into account, and then we have to plan the therapy, and then it has to be a long-term planning with the patient as to how the pain can be managed. So that is all for this particular session on the cardiac syndrome management. Thank you.